This is Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast. We're going to do a bonus episode today, but not for happy reasons, obviously. Legendary Hall of Fame running back Franco Harris passed away Wednesday morning, 3 days before he was to be honored and celebrated as the third Pittsburgh Steeler to have his number retired on the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception at Acrisure Stadium when the Steelers take on the Raiders. We're doing this because I didn't feel it'd be right to try to just cram Franco Harris's passing into a full episode where we're breaking down things about Steelers and Raiders and where Kenny Pickett is and all that other kind of stuff. I wanted to take some time just to talk about Franco Harris because he was that much of a legend, not just for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but also for the NFL and for anyone that knew him. Franco Harris, as you know, legendary Steeler, number 32, drafted in 1972, and was the playmaker of the Immaculate Reception in the 1972 AFC divisional round of the playoffs when the Steelers won their first ever playoff game on what Mike Tomlin called the most significant play in the history of football. Was that play when he caught a pass broken up by Jack Tatum, caught the ball, ran it in for a touchdown. The Steelers beat the Raiders in one of the most historic plays in all of sports, not just football. And then, of course, just 2 seasons after that, the Steelers would win their first Super Bowl against the Vikings when Franco Harris was the Super Bowl MVP and scored the first touchdown of a Pittsburgh Steeler in the Super Bowl, the first of 4 Super Bowl championships they'd have in a span of 6 years during the 70s, a feat that's never been reaccomplished in the NFL. And there's a lot to be said about Franco Harris. But I think one thing that's to be said is for people who maybe just, you're a Steelers fan, you didn't get a chance to be around Pittsburgh, but Franco Harris was so much more than the Immaculate Reception and those 4 Super Bowls. And yes, his statue or the statue that's honors him in the airport has been there. So if you've ever flown into Pittsburgh, you've walked past the statue of him making the Immaculate Reception. But this was a guy who I grew up in Pittsburgh, and everywhere you saw Franco Harris everywhere. It was not a surprise to see him out in the community, helping in an event, raising money for somebody, speaking on behalf of a group that was trying to accomplish some good for the city of Pittsburgh. He stayed around here. He was very much part of the Pittsburgh family. When you just kind of felt who was part of the community, you always knew Franco Harris was going to be one of those celebrities. And in many ways, I always felt that he set a tone for what it meant to be a Steelers alum, a Steelers legend who gave back to the community and was nice. Because I think there's an expectation now. Everyone just, you think about Troy Polamalu and Hines Ward, guys that, come back and sign all the stuff. And most of the 70s Steelers, they do that kind of stuff. But Franco Harris, I think, set a tone for how that was supposed to be represented by so many Steelers that came after him. And there's, I think, few who got to his level of not just being a legend, but also being a great person that if you ever interacted with him or his family, you had a really great sense of like, wow, that guy's a great human being. I say all that to say, this is, it's him passing away at 72. It's very sad that he didn't get a chance to get his flowers in front of the Acrisure Stadium Steelers fans on Christmas Eve, on Saturday Night Football, where the NFL was going to honor him. His Football Life documentary was coming out this Friday on NFL Network, honoring him and his path to the NFL and what he meant to the Steelers and the NFL. And again, some people might glaze over his career because he was part of a great 70s team and there were so many legends and Hall of Famers, from Terry Bradshaw to Mean Joe Green to Mel Blount, Jack Lambert, Mike Webster, Lynn Swann, John Stahl. I mean, you could just name a whole bunch of superstars that played for that team. But Franco Harris was very much the face of the offense of that team. And some people might say it was Mike Webster or Terry Bradshaw, but Joe Green said it himself in the America's Game documentary. He said, "We didn't win until Franco got there, and we didn't win when Franco left, until after Franco left." And Franco Harris very much was, a guy that kind of carried that for the Steelers. And even after the Immaculate Reception, you had the Super Bowl IX. He was a huge part of their Super Bowl X run. In Super Bowl 13, when Big Cat Henderson of the Cowboys hits Terry Bradshaw in the backfield and taunts him, Franco gets in his face, and Rocky Blyer, running back that shared the backfield with Franco Harris, talked about how in the huddle after that play, Franco Harris said, "Give me the ball." And the next play, he takes it and runs right to the end zone, scores a huge touchdown in what would be the Steelers' third Super Bowl win, becoming the first franchise ever to win 3 Super Bowls. Franco Harris was a great football player. And I think that some people glaze over that again because of the other greats that were around him. But, for those who might not ever think that much about that time period, he retired less than 200 yards behind Jim Brown, who at the time was regarded as the greatest running back of all time. And that was the second most rushing yards in the history of the NFL. Today, he's 15th most, which is still ridiculous and another example of why he's in the Hall of Fame. But Franco Harris was a great running back. He caught the football, he ran the football, he blocked, he did everything after him. A great teammate by all accounts. And he absolutely deserved to be celebrated. And, it's a shame to me as someone who, again, you grew up in Pittsburgh. If you're a football fan, Franco Harris is just like one of those pillars that you just think about, like he's just always there. And I think that's the sad part of him passing, is that it was going to feel good to be there at Acrisure Stadium and watch him get his jersey officially retired in front of the crowd. It's something the Steelers haven't officially done for all but 2 other players, Ernie Stotner and Mean Joe Green, who only happened recently as well. And Franco Harris absolutely deserved to get his jersey retired, to be among that Steelers greats, and probably the next Steeler among those greats to get that honor. It's just a shame that we don't get to see him enjoy that celebration. But I do think that Franco Harris, from all accounts, heck, he was on TV just Tuesday morning talking about, how his Immaculate Reception was remembered in the Heinz History Center Museum in Pittsburgh. And you do get the sense that Franco Harris knows that he was loved by so many fans and so many people across the country, and that moment was legendary. You remember, if you watched the NFL 100 Super Bowl commercial, where all these NFL stars from today and the past were there, and Franco Harris got to do an Immaculate Reception joke as part of the the commercial. It's clear that how much he has done and how much he represents for the history of the game and the history of the Steelers. So I do think it's important to say a lot of the things and that he's done, and to honor that by talking about that and thinking about that. And it's just crazy, on the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, we'll be doing a lot of thinking about this. And I can only presume the Steelers are going to do a lot to honor him when they take the field at Acrisure Stadium Saturday night, playing against the very franchise that he caught the Immaculate Reception against, honoring it Saturday night, as they, there's the memorial of the Immaculate Reception just outside the stadium, on the spot where he actually made the catch, in the right next to the Stage A parking lot, where fans walk by every day. So it's a sad day because Franco Harris, has gone before he got the chance to receive this great honor that he wanted. I'm very certain he wanted for so long, and he was truly humbled when he heard that he was getting this honor earlier in the season, when the Steelers brought him out and let him speak before the media. But I don't think that means we shouldn't also celebrate the amazing life that he led and the amazing things he did, again, not just for the Pittsburgh Steelers themselves, but also for the Steelers organization. For the city of Pittsburgh, and for the community around. Again, I can't tell you how many times I just saw him helping somewhere when I was a kid, a teenager, an adult, and I was just like, "Oh, Franco Harris is here." And it wasn't like a whoa. It was just like he's always there. So again, very sad, but I do think it's important. That's why I wanted to do something about Franco Harris here and how much he meant to the Pittsburgh Steelers as part of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family and his loved ones. And I'm sure a lot of people, millions across the country, will be thinking about Franco Harris when he is honored Saturday night. We'll have more breaking down Steelers Raiders as we have crossover Thursday coming up. But we'll have this bonus episode up real soon for you guys to listen. Thanks so much for everyone who checks out the Locked On Steelers podcast. Hope everyone out there in Steelers Nation is doing all right. And again, we'll be back with our full Thursday episode when we do crossover Thursday with your boy Q, who hosts Locked On Raiders. And I'm Chris Carter. Thanks for listening. Hope you're doing well. We'll be back with you soon right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.